I want you guys to know that I'm shooting this a second time because the first time was just kind of really too out there. But this was a topic that I thought I had to cover just because, there's just too much of this right now. Too much of this damn bullshit. So before I keep going, it's Pride Month, so don't say I wasn't paying attention to you bastards, you fruity pebbles. So this was a horrible story back in April. These two women, these who they're a married lesbian couple, wearing these Bernie shirts, they drove their kids off a cliff over in California. And I have to say, they were asking advice on how to, whether 500 milligrams of Benadryl could kill a 125-pound woman. They were planning this out. It's messed up, and it exhibits why I personally, even though in many ways I define my political views as civil libertarian. In many cases, I would say also, economically libertarian. I don't support the gay rights movement. I think that they're a destructive force in this country. I think that their values are deviant and that they are leading to the ruination of American society. Now, granted, I think that there's plenty of people who they grow up, especially, they have these, I would say, an awareness that they're not attracted to the opposite sex like normal people are. And I insist on saying normal people because that's the way humans have lived for millennia and longer, by the way. I think, but according to science, humans have been around for tens of thousands of years. So that the people who survive and give offspring are the ones who end up mating with members of the opposite sex, and the ones who don't end up doing it, what are you going to do? So it's a sad truth. There are also people who don't happen to be gay, who, and for example, people who were injured in war who can't have children. If you ever read Hemingway's novel The Sun Also Rises, it's about a guy who has a very ghastly war injury and can't have kids because it's you do the math. So life isn't fair. People who say, well, we should be able to live like everyone else. Well, the law nowadays, thanks to Obergefell, I think it was Obergefell versus California, who, the Supreme Court case, that case allowed people who were these gays to get married by law. There are no more legal obstacles between people who identify as gay being able to have the same rights as other people, which I would say is a pretty good accomplishment for them, given the fact that people don't. If you look at the way people voted in every issue, that when they create a ballot issue, for example, in California, Prop 8. California voted 55-45 against gay marriage in 2008. And what did the gay rights movement do in response? Did they accept the will of the people? No, they didn't. And they ended up suing in court and eventually making it all the way to SCOTUS over in Washington and winning. And therefore, you could say that despite the way society feels, despite the way America votes, they were able to get their wish, which I don't know why they would complain, but they still do. So, yeah, I would say that, look, I understand that there's people that I know, for example, lesbians, that they say, well, what are you supposed to tell me? They're not attracted to dudes. Okay? Is that something that I can tell them? Just imagine, imagine he's a chick. No, it would be absurd if I was to tell them that. So I accept that you can't control the way people behave. You can't control the way people interact with each other in their own home. It's not something that the government has a business governing, but we shouldn't be encouraging deviant behavior in our society. And it is deviant behavior. And people who deny that, they're not being libertarian. They're taking liberties with reality. That's what they're doing. So there's a number of topics we could expand on over here. This is from the Dyke March over in Washington, D.C. So I've noticed, and I'm not the only person who has, that these movements, these gay movements, are obsessed with making a spectacle out of themselves and injecting the gay movement into movements that have nothing to do with it, and vice versa. So it used to be that these gay parades, the gay pride parades, and by the way, the idea that you would have pride in something as ridiculous as having a hard-on for another dude is, I think, pretty stupid, and it's complete nonsense. And the people who showed up here really, I was watching this earlier and making the previous version of the video, which I thought, it got me so like, I was ready to laugh out loud in several portions. But I can't believe people waste their time, take time out of their day, out of their work, if they have jobs, that they take the time to go down to these parades and pretend like this is really an issue in America in 2019.
I would like to finish my statement about this, and then we'd be happy to let dykes march in the Dyke March. In order to have the Jewish pride flag not be about Zionism, all you got to do is just move the star.
So allies,
that doesn't
how do you
feel
propose
hard.
I move this star?
I mean,
Move the star. Move the star.
So you could have brought something.
Move the star.
Let me finish.
So you
could have
don't want
brought.
allies here.
Let me finish.
You don't want allies here.
Correct.
So
Yes,
you
this
don't
is
want
what-
Jewish dykes here. You don't want Jewish. Forget the allies. You don't want Jewish dykes here. This is my Judaism. This
Okay.
is my Judaism.
You and I disagree
You
about what
don't
this
want
flag
Jewish
means.
dykes here, is what you're telling me. If I can't march with this, you cannot let me march.
So, with respect, we're all Jewish dykes here, and we just want to march in solidarity with Palestinian dykes. And if y'all want to march also,
That's what I want. We all want.
Can I tell
Wait.
you something? You are creating
Sure.
a binary in which the only way to be a dyke is to explicitly denounce the existence of the Jewish state, which is an important thing for most Jews, the vast majority of
so we're
of
not
Jews in
saying
the world.
anything about
Okay.
what
I'm
Jews
just saying
have to
it
do.
is not
We're
fair
saying
to actually ask.
specifically within the context of Dyke March, which is about liberation.
So this lesbian who is from a movement called If Not Now, which we will probably be covering a number of times in the near future, not really with connection to the Dyke March, but other things. So she's saying that, look, you can be, I guess, in the case of some of these ladies, you can be, or whatever the hell they are, you can be a Zionist, but you can't be a Zionist at my Dyke March. So if you can be a lesbian and you can be a Zionist, but if you want to be in this Dyke March, you better not be a Zionist during my Dyke March. You better shut your pie hole. And not, so I think that the people who waste their times go to these things and say, well, we want to be accepted into your idiot parade. You deserve to. I mean, you're going to look like an idiot if you march in the parade. And you for sure look even dumber when the morons who are managing the parade reject you for a reason that has nothing to do with being, a carpet vacuuming lesbo, which is totally fine. And, there's nothing. Look, I think people should be able to march for the dumbest reason possible. I think if we want to have a parade to commemorate pro wrestlers, or, in St. Louis, they just won the Stanley Cup. So they're going to have a parade for it. Is it the best reason to have a parade? Not necessarily. Most of the people who go to the parade did nothing to earn anything. And the only people who really... So you're there to honor people who accomplished something. But in and of itself, it is a waste of time because it's a parade. And, you're not really accomplishing anything. But when you're making a parade for the fact that, you know, in this lady's case, she looks like Justin Bieber. You're making a parade because you have the right in America to walk around looking very unattractive and belligerent towards other people. Well, I would say that's several degrees of magnitude greater, several orders of magnitude greater of stupidity than a parade for a hockey team, which I think, you know, nothing against hockey, but, you know, these parades, I think sometimes you have to put into perspective that, you know, it's stupid. I mean, you're marching for literally nothing, and I mean, let's hear a little more of it.
For all
That they
dykes,
support the
that nationalism isn't something that we're
for all dykes.
supporting.
If you support the Palestinian flag, you support Palestinian nationalism.
I don't
we
think that's
also
necessarily
support
true.
Palestinian self-determination. It's impossible to say that you
So
don't think
I
that's
think
true.
we've had the amount of conversation that we're going to have because we disagree pretty loudly.
Shut up! I don't want to hear any more of your conversation because I run this march. I run this idiot march. You will be stupid my way.
Would you ban the American flag? Would you?
Yeah.
You would ban the American flag? So if this was an American flag.
So people who were guaranteed their right to march in this country, this country which is, you know, they don't drive to Mexico to march, and they're not flying up to Canada or to Greenland. They're marching in the nation's capital, and they're saying, well, no, we're not really going to march with the American flag.
You would take it out of my hand.
I wouldn't take it out of your hands.
You would say I couldn't march.
Again, let me finish talking. Where we don't welcome nationalist symbols at Dyke March generally.
But the Palestinian
because
symbol is not.
So this other freak over in the back points out correctly, well, you're claiming, well, the American flag is the national symbol, but you're not objecting to the Palestinian flag being flown. I would say that when you march for something as stupid as who you're banging on the weekend, people should be able to bring whatever damn flag they want. They should be able to bring the Harley Davidson flag if they want. They should be able to bring, a picture of,
of a people's freedom,
a picture of Alfred E. Newman. The stupid spacebar key is failing.
Not of a government.
So you mean
and
you
I
don't
know
believe
that that's
there's
like a close
nation?
line.
You don't know that
not
there's a
a
Palestinian nation?
So again, anyone who is
the world's Jewish population was wiped out to stand for that flag. You're talking about that's not a symbol of hope and aspirations for a people.
The
it
Jewish
is
star goes
absolutely
on
a
graves.
symbol of hope and aspirations for a people, and it's also a symbol of a government that's caused a
The
lot of
government.
harm.
So that's enough. That's just one example. There's other things I wanted to point out. So even pro-gay groups acknowledge that gay people are overrepresented in the criminal justice system. And what they want to make it seem like is that they are targeted by police officers and law enforcement because they're gay. No. Look, gay people have the same legal rights as any other person in the country. And I don't think that they should be discriminated more or less than anyone else. If you commit a crime, you should be afforded the same defense and the same prosecution as anyone else. You should be given, I guess if you're going to prison, they should give you the best treatment possible for, whether you have addictions or medical conditions or whatever. And I would say part of those conditions would be mental health. And I think that this decision years and years ago to change the definition of both homosexuality and gender dysphoria from being a mental illness, I think that was one of the greatest mistakes in the history of psychology and medicine, because you can see it says here, this is from American University, also in Washington, D.C. It says, the overrepresentation of lesbian, gay, bisexual questioning, etc., within the child welfare and juvenile justice crossover population. So they are saying essentially that a new study shows that lesbian, gay, etc. youth are overrepresented among youth in the juvenile justice system who have been involved in the child welfare system. These findings essentially document that the percentage of gay youth involved in the juvenile justice and child welfare system is higher than the average of gay youth in the general population. So gay people are disproportionately in the juvenile justice system. And we'll skip to the conclusion here. So that it says there have not been any studies on the child welfare experiences of gay or gender nonconforming youth in the juvenile justice system compared with straight youth. The reason for this is simple. Data on sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression is rarely collected by child welfare and juvenile justice systems. And then so they had an anonymous survey and all of that, and essentially what they found is that as a proportion of their population, there's just more of these kids who are getting busted for, whatever crime it would be. It doesn't really go. So it also, what I find is pretty screwed up, is that they don't go into what crimes these people are being imprisoned for. And it's just ridiculous that we have this, people walking on eggshells because they think these people can't. If you're so concerned with how these people will react and how it will hurt their feelings, then they do have a mental illness. Then they are not really people who are living by the same standards as everyone else. Because look, I've had people say all sorts of horrible things to me my entire life about all sorts of, they'll call me all sorts of names, related to my health, or the fact that I'm white, or the fact that, or white people that don't think that I'm white. There's things that people say to you that obviously they're meant to, bring down your spirits, and that's just the way things are. And the idea that people would be so fragile that they can't deal with statistical facts and the issue that there are problems and that there could be negative effects of living a certain way, that is a mental illness. And I don't think that we can hide from it anymore. I think that we have to change the conversation, and that's why Pride Month is a fraud. That's why this placing of the gays at the center of the libertarian movement for the past few years, that's why the movement is a joke, okay? Because libertarianism should be about free speech rights for everyone, not just for the people who are most screwed up. And I think that that's one of the reasons that our society is unraveling and gradually coming apart. It's one of the reasons. It's not the main reason, but you can't leave it alone. That's about it for today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, subscribe to me on BitChute. I really want to keep the BitChute growing. The views are growing, especially. So I see more views within a few hours on a BitChute video than I'll see on a YouTube video for days. So that's important. Please subscribe to me on BitChute, and mine's at Chef Leopard. Also, subscribe to me on Gab at Starscream85. You also may contribute on Subscribestar at Chef Leopard. And I have a new Parler account at Razor Ray. Talk to you later.